Chef Jeff from Smith's, and we are going to finish up that roasted corn and shrimp chowder that we started earlier. You remember we used that trick where I kept the corn cobs and the shrimp shells and I put them in the chicken broth and let them boil for about a half hour. And what that does is it extracts all that extra flavor from the corn and the shrimp that you wouldn't otherwise have. And so it's a really great trick to use up stuff you might otherwise throw away. Okay, I'll show you how we're gonna use that, but first, in this pan I had our roasted corn that we pan roasted. Remember, it got nice and brown, then I added the veggies, the onions, the celery, the red bell pepper, all of that. That's all had a chance to cook down a little bit. Now it's ready for the next step in the process. Next is gonna be our flour. So now we're making a chowder and not a soup, so it needs to be a little bit thick. And that's what the flour is gonna do. So I'm gonna stir that in there and let it cook a little bit. This is sort of making, you've heard of a roux. It's kind of that same process where the butter will mix with the fat, or the flour will mix with the fat, and then we're gonna add our broth to it. So I'm gonna stir that flour in there. Now it's time for our broth. Let's see if I can do this without making too much mess here. See, and then there's all our used corn cobs and shrimp. Okay, now what we're gonna do now is this chowder needs a little bit more body to it, and so I'm going to add potatoes. These are just red potatoes. And then what's gonna happen is we're gonna boil, or bring this to a boil I should say, and just let it simmer just until the potatoes are done. So we're talking, if you noticed, I cut the potatoes fairly small, so they're only gonna take like 6 or 8 minutes to get soft. So that's what's gonna happen there. And then once, we'll just imagine it's at that point, once it gets to that point, and then I'm gonna add a little bit of finished touch to it. That is some heavy cream. That just kinda, again, we're making chowder, so if you're familiar with clam chowder, it's that really creamy, and so that's kind of what we're after here too. So once the cream is then in, and then is the last part where our shrimp goes in. The shrimp you don't want to put in early in the process because it's gonna overcook, and we don't want that. The shrimp only takes like 3 or 4 minutes, so we'll let that go. I've got one that's finished right here. Let's see how we did. Okay, let's spoon this up. It's so good, smells wonderful. All that nice fresh roasted corn. You notice I haven't put any shrimp on there yet. It's because I want to have that kind of be my decoration on top. So here at the last second, I'm gonna grab 3 shrimp because they're huge, and odd numbers are good for chefs when they're plating stuff. So we've got our 3 shrimp on top, and then I'm gonna finish it with some, of course, that bacon that we cooked earlier. It needs that for sure, so don't forget about that. Throw some bacon on there, and then some fresh parsley. And that is ready to go, guys. That is roasted corn and shrimp chowder. It's delicious. You'll get all these ingredients at your local Smith's. Thanks for joining me, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye.